Hi everyone, I'm Geoff Dragon, a Senior Associate here at Taylor Vinters. Welcome back to the Founder Series. Today I'm joined with Peter from Musitude. Peter, hello, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Tell us a little bit about Musitude and what it is that you guys do.
So Musitude is a music tech solution for non-musicians. Okay. So here are the stats, like only 3% of people can proficiently read music and play an instrument. So the 97% who can, it turns out almost all of them want to. But if you didn't learn when they're children, or if their parents are not rich enough to hire a private teacher, then they struggle. And so a lot of them, like myself, try to learn a musical instrument when they're already an adult. And your brain's not as malleable, and you find you're doing the work, you're practicing for an hour a day. 6 months later, you haven't really progressed. You still have the desire to get the joy from playing a musical instrument, but you're just not getting there, so people just give up. So I realized one day that I can touch type fairly well, and most musical instruments are about learning the interface, so you can use it without even having to look at it. So it just occurred to me one day, why can't I use my QWERTY keyboard on my laptop as a musical instrument? Wouldn't that be good? I'd already be halfway there. And then, but even with that, you still have to learn to read music. Because I'd tried several instruments over many years and failed to become a proficient musician, I had understood how sheet music works and how instrument works. So I devised a music notation which is suitable to that particular skill of using a QWERTY keyboard on a phone or a laptop, and that is alphabet. So music notes by themselves are just symbols. They're just like arrows are symbols. So with traditional music, the position on the line tells you which note, and the shape of the note tells you how long to sustain the note. So with the Musitude notation, any letter in the alphabet or number gets assigned a note, so it's its own unique note. And of course, we all see that letter, T or S or A, and we know which key to press. So we're already there, so we transcribe music into alphabetic numeric format. And just like reading a document and typing it in, you go to our website, you choose an instrument sound like guitar or piano or violin, and then you just read what you see on the screen like a musician would, only the notation is letters and numbers. And you play it on the phone screen or from the phone screen or the laptop screen on your keyboard. And what we find is people who are non-musicians at all, who are fairly good at typing, they can sit down and play a piece of music like Greensleeves instantly, and they start grinning wildly, and they're grinning because they believed I'm not a musician. Yeah. But in the same way that personally I don't speak Chinese, I speak some Korean but not Chinese, so I'm not a language speaker in Chinese, but I am a language speaker in English. So non-musicians are not musicians with traditional notation, but they find that with Musitude they're already musicians from day one. Yeah. So that learning curve is just made a little bit flatter by Musitude.
Amazing. And so myself, I can play the trumpet. I learned to play very early on, so I can sheet read music fine. But I've tried, as you have, to try and transfer those skills on from try and play the guitar or try and play the keyboard, and other than very basic chords quite slowly, I really struggle. So I think what you're doing in giving access to music to hundreds, as you said, that kind of smile and that joy you see is actually something that's of quite value, because when you pick up and when you learn to play, as you said, it kind of creates a joy internally.
Yeah, what we're essentially doing is inverting the paradigm of learning music. A non-musician has to learn a clarinet or a piano, and they have to learn to read music, whereas what we do is we're adapting music to fit skills you already have, typing and reading. Yeah. So it's really the same principle what they do, it's just that we adapt music to fit the would-be musician.
And the music sector, the music tech sector specifically, it's tough. It's notoriously hard for people to break into. You've obviously had Spotify being the big success, but then having somewhat of a monopoly on kind of technology that stemmed from music. What have been the biggest challenges for Musitude and for you personally trying to break into that sector?
For example, with Spotify, when they started, they had to agree to give 85% of their entire revenue to the music companies, not the profit, their revenues, and they had to figure out profit. And now, they've been around for a while, and they've got the power balance has shifted, so they're down to I think I heard it's 55–60%. So one of the challenges with us, not being a funded, being a bootstrapping startup, is going to music publishing companies and saying, can we license pop music? So on our site, we've got classical, folk music, church music, national anthems. That's all free because they're out of copyright. Yeah. But if you want Ed Sheeran's song, we've got to bring some come bearing gifts, right? So they can't give us a free trial of songs, because every startup we're doing that, it would dilute their IP. So we have to show we're generating revenue in order to get a licensing deal so we can pay them. But it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, because having that properties on our site would attract more users, then we can generate revenue.
Yeah.
But in order to have those, we have to have funds in the first place. So I would say getting access to licensed music, but certain companies like Music Sales, Hal Leonard, they're receptive, because think about it. If Taylor Swift releases a song on iTunes, potentially 100% of the population could be a customer.
Yeah.
But when she releases the sheet music to her song, she can only sell it to 3% of the population.
Yeah.
When Musitude, not if, but when Musitude explodes, basically sheet music will be able to generate income from 100% of people, potentially. So they're interested in us, but they're sort of waiting and seeing how far we go. Yeah. So that's one challenge, getting the attention of music licensing companies for sheet music. Another challenge is, to be honest, funding. So we've had friends and family funding of about 30,000. I put about 30,000 of my own money in. When one angel put 10,000 in, but we're looking to raise about £250,000. But when we speak to angels and VCs, they are scared of the word music. As soon as they heard the word music related, most of them back off because they know how cutthroat it is and how competitive it is. So we've sort of pivoted in our fundraising method a little bit. So now we realize that if there's a high net worth individual or somebody who's had an exit and become really, really successful and got lots of money in the bank and they're passionate about music, they're more likely to look beyond the fear. And also they themselves will have had experience in the music business. Yeah. So we're talking to a few people right now, and hopefully something will come of it, but you've got to kiss a lot of frogs to get a prince or princess. Yeah. But it would be great to get somebody who's themselves been successful in music tech, because first of all, they'll share the passion, but also all the knowledge and wisdom and the battle scars they have will be useful as well.
No, and I think that's for those watching as well. What we see with our clients is that, especially in those areas which are traditionally quite hard to break into, it really does help, as you said, if you have a champion or someone that's been there and done that. Yeah, just because their advice, if you can surround yourself with people like that really is kind of invaluable. On the subject of advice, then, if you could. If you could speak to the millions, hopefully, of people watching this, again it is millions despite what others may tell you, what would be kind of one bit of advice that you would give as to potential entrepreneurs?
There are so many things, and also I'd like to, with a caveat that I haven't made it yet, so I'm giving advice from somebody who himself is still in the trenches there, but it's not so much advice about what you can do to be successful, but I think more about the state of mind. I've noticed there's a culture in the startup world, and it's sort of driven by the investors' expectations, and that's the culture of the exit. And investors put money into a startup, whether it's angel or VC level, and they obviously want to get a return after 2 or 3 years later. That doesn't necessarily gel with what the ambitions of the startup is. If you want to create a startup that's going to change the world or bring something wonderful to the world, you want it to go on and on and on. And ideally, if you love what you're doing, you want to be part of that. But there's an expectation that you have to be thinking about an exit from day one. And it's almost like you start your career after leaving college and all you're thinking about is, when can I retire? But you should really be involved in something in a startup that you would do even if you weren't getting paid. So essentially, I created a startup, which was a solution to my own problem. And it's a testament to how difficult it is to learn traditional instruments, that it was easier for me to reinvent music, notation and instrument, so I could play. After I did that, I thought, hey, maybe other people would like that. And I was inspired by the idea of giving other people access to that joy. And it was only the third stage I thought, well, maybe it could be a business. So I was never thinking about an exit because I was never thinking about business. I love what Musitude is. But when you talk to investors, if you say, I never want to sell the company, right? Then they're obviously thinking, how can I get out of it? So there has to be some kind of balance. So I would say that you can be diplomatic in the way you talk to investors, maybe talk more about an IPO. But I would say that when you're starting, if your objective is just to make money and become a billionaire, that's fine. But if you're passionate about what you do, it's going to give you that extra motivation when things get tough. Yeah. And so, because you would do it for free anyway. So, and you're going to come to work every day thinking, oh my God, I'm getting paid, or potential to be successful for doing something I love. That's my dream. So I would say just try to avoid the culture of the exit, because it just seems a bit like a self-fulfilling doom prophecy to me, right? Instead, think about, this company is going to make so much profit, our investors are never going to want to exit, and have that as the goal, maybe.
Oh, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Thank you very much for agreeing to sit down with me.
Thanks for having me here.
No, anytime. Thank you for supporting us in our London Tech Week event, and good luck with the fundraising.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.